I was going to have a skit this morning, and as I started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, but this is a lot to ask of Carla and David to dress up like cowboys. I know you would. But then I'd have to get 2 horses, and we'd have to figure out how to get you guys on them and in here, So I don't know. It just seemed like a little bit much, but it was a thought. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was going to give you brooms. But so I'll just tell you the little skit we were going to do. How many of y'all saw City Slickers? Oh, it's so hilarious. And there was that one scene with Jack Palance and Billy Crystal, and they're on their horses, and Cowboy, he was called Curly, and Mitch was the Billy Crystal character. So anyway, the Jack Palance character is like, do you know what the secret of life is? And Billy's like, no, what is that? And he goes, this. And Billy's like, your finger? And he's like, no, one thing, just one thing. You stick to that, and everything else don't matter nothing. And Billy Crystal was like, that's great, but what is that one thing? And he said, that's what you have to figure out. So that's what we're going to figure out today for each one of us. We're on our last book of the month. We've just been doing a summer reading series, and this is our 4th and final book, and it's called The One Thing. And I loved your reading. That was so beautiful, so perfect, beautiful meditation. It just is so wonderful to just see how everything comes together, and Michael to, just be able to at the last minute step in and just, do a great performance. And yeah, I love that song, Old Chunk of Coal. And we are diamonds, so yeah, already, like what he said. Okay, so this book this week, The One Thing, follows really nicely the book that we did last week, which was Inside Out Healing, which was giving us some understanding and some tools to use to help bring us back to the present moment, which is, of course, where God is, where the presence is, where love and energy and all that good stuff. It's so easy to follow the mind. I was having a conversation with Wayne this morning, just how easy it is to, the mind will start going back into the past, and you're following that, and then it'll jump to the future, how it's scared of things because of what you did in the past, all of that, all those crazy trains of thought. And it's like, boy, it is so helpful to have some useful tools that can just bring you right back here. Because in this moment, right here, this moment, isn't everything just fine? And you'll just be amazed how often that's true, And I was doing a little walk yesterday, and I don't know, sometimes you'll get a greater state of awareness, and you can sort of watch the character. I've talked about that before, the character Dyann, or what it is for you. And I just thought, God, she's really been like telling herself really bad stories for a while. I wonder if maybe we could just change the story a little bit, and in any given moment. So the idea of the one thing is that if you want less stress and strain, and you want more joy and balance, and who doesn't want that, you can have that by mastering this one thing. And you've probably heard the term, go big or go home, right? Well, we're letting you off the hook today, because we're just going to say it a whole different way, which is go small or go home, okay? And this is going to be useful. And that's kind of a relief, having to be big all the time that's kind of hard to keep that up. So by going small in this context that we're talking about today, it means that to achieve things by narrowing your focus in the moment to just one thing. Whatever the one thing is that's in front of you. Okay, so we're just narrowing the focus, because isn't it just easy? Our lives are so complex, and the society in which we live in is so complex, and it can just be overwhelming. So we just want to just get it real simple and just bring it right into this moment, right to one thing. And in order for us to do this one thing, we have to ask the right question. And that's the difficulty. Okay, so the good news is that I'm going to give you the question today. Okay, so I'm going to have that part of it figured out for you. Okay, and then, we'll give some help to identifying what that might be for you in whatever area of your life that you'd like to focus on. We've talked before about how the quality of our lives is reflected in the questions we ask. And there was a story of Thomas Edison who, when he was asked if he only had 1 hour to solve a problem, how would he spend that time? And he said, I would use the first 55 minutes to come up with the right question. And isn't that true? Haven't you found that to be true? That when you get really clear enough on what that is, it's kind of the answer just kind of comes out of it and collapses the question even. So, and then you're familiar with this Chinese proverb that says, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step. So again, we're with this one step, one question. And but here's the thing. Have you ever thought about, well, if that one step is in the wrong direction, that's going to take you somewhere which may be miles away from where you want. So it's not just you take a step. You take an appropriate step that's going to lead you to where you actually want to go. Otherwise, it's going to be a misstep. So you're probably thinking, well, what is this question? Just give it to me, Dyann, and be quiet. And Val already said, you're interfering with my football schedule, so tighten up your talk. So I'm going to do that today. I just love you, Val. We'll get you out of here. I'm shooting for noon instead of this 12:15 nonsense, right? Okay. Yeah, there's a few others of you. Okay. I know. Michael told me the same thing. I don't know why. I just been blabbing a lot lately. I'll just try to keep it tight. What? Thank you, Carla. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. See, ha, ha, ha. They like me blathering up here. Michael needs his. He told me yesterday to cut it out. So I got the message. Okay. So, all right. So the one question, it's a focusing question. Okay. And so this is it. It is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Isn't that a good one? What's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So that's pretty simple, right? When we just focus it like that. So simple that the power of it is just so easily overlooked. So we're just going to unpack it just a little bit to provide a little more clarity, and then we're going to see if we can put this into action for you. So the first part, which is, what's the one thing? And this portion of the question asks you to focus. What's the one thing? And the one thing tells you that it's going to be this one thing and not many other things. And it's not 2, 3, or 4 things. It's one thing. And so it's like you got to kind of keep bringing the mind back to that focusing question. What's the one thing? And so, simple. One thing. Not a list. It's so easy to come up with the lists that never get done, right? And then we just make more lists. So it's just going to keep it so simple. One thing. The second part is, I can do. And that phrase has an embedded command in it directing you to take the action that you will take. So if you find your mind wanting to go, kind of adapt that to, well, I should do, or I could do, or I would do, those are all choices, but they're going to miss the mark, okay? There's actually many things we should, could, or would do, but never do. So action is the key, and can do commands action, and it beats intentions by a long shot, right? It's like, what is that thing about the road is paved with good intentions? I don't remember what the rest of it is, but anyway, it just, the road to hell. Oh, that's a little dramatic. Intentions are not such a bad thing. They just give us the space to be willing to do something. Okay, I do love these words of Holmes, and he says our minds should swing from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer to performance. This would be a well-balanced existence. I love that, because isn't it, it's like, I'm so inspired. Let's see, I could do this and this and that and this and then that. And then you've like talked yourself all the way out of it, because it's like, you just completely overwhelm yourself, right? I can see Karen is resonating with this one. Okay, so I can do this one thing. I can do one thing, right? And then part 3 says, such that by doing it, so you're doing it, this part of the question puts your consciousness on notice that there's a criteria your answer must meet. It's the bridge between just doing something or anything and doing something for a specific purpose. Because you know how you can get so busy and then you feel like, God, I haven't accomplished anything. Yeah. And it's like 5 years later, you're like, wait a minute. I've been so busy and I'm exhausted, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay? So this is going to help you with that. There's an infinite wisdom in you that will respond to that bridge. Okay? And then part 3 is, then everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And don't we love that? Don't you just want it to be easier or like not have to do it at all? Wouldn't that be good? And there was an ancient Greek mathematician, physicist, engineer, inventor, and astronomer named Archimedes. Remember him from your classes? And he once said, give me a lever long enough that I could move the world. And that's exactly what this last part is saying in a little bit of an abstract way, which is that everything else will be easier or unnecessary is the ultimate leverage test. It says that when you do this one thing, everything else you do to accomplish your goal will now be either doable or less effort or not even necessary anymore. So this is deceptively simple, and I'm sure by now on this spiritual path you've all found that everything is very simple. It's just not easy, right? Because it's not just knowing it, it's like applying it and practicing it. And this month we've just been giving you lots of really tangible tools, to really help move yourself forward and your life forward in what you're creating. So here's some examples of the focusing questions. And what we want to do is not have it so broad that it's our whole life that we're going to figure out this one thing from. It's like pick an area, okay? So like for your spiritual life, it might be, what's the one thing I can do to deepen my connection with Source such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or no longer necessary? What's the one thing I can do to build my faith such that by doing it, that everything will be easier or not necessary? Okay? And for, like, say you pick physical health. What's the one thing I can do to achieve my fitness goals such that by doing it, everything else will be effortless or unnecessary? Or what's the one thing I can do to relieve my stress in such a way that all else will be unnecessary? So are you starting to kind of get the feel of it? Relationships, what's the one thing I can do to improve my relationship with fill in the blank such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing I can do to nurture my children such that by doing it, everything else will be, God, easier, right, Carrie? Yeah. Or the other Carrie, who's got the two little boys that you all heard me yelling at earlier. God, Hubie, we got to get this mute down. I'm dangerous. Okay, and then say, like, for your job, what's the one thing I can do to further my career such that by doing it, it'll make things easier or unnecessary? Or what's the one thing I can do to help my team succeed such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Or for your finances, can somebody give me one for your finances? Okay, how do we put that in this framework? You do it. What's the one thing I can do to Okay, what's the one thing I can do to stop clicking buy, B-Y, B-U-Y, yeah, so that things become effortless or unnecessary? So what's the one thing you could do, Carrie? Okay. Well, can you come up with something that's like an action? Not that it's necessarily got to be, that's just kind of where I went with it. What's the one thing I can do to not click buy? Yeah, absolutely. Good. Spend time on myself. Yeah. Okay? Let's come up with a few more. Here's the ones I came up with. What's the one thing I can do to eliminate my credit card debt such that by doing it, things will be easier or unnecessary? Or what's the one thing I can do to increase my network? Network, no. That was a Freudian, no. I want net worth, not more work. You see? So let's try this just a little bit. Let's pick an area. Who wants to do one on spiritual life? Carla, get them going. Get them going. She gives me this big smile. I knew she'd do it. Well, that's going to be what you select in your spiritual life. What's the one thing you can do to
let myself meditate?
Okay, what's the one thing I can do to let myself meditate?
Yeah, to meditate or because to me that's self-care, self-love. My spiritual life is about self-love. So what one thing can I do to love me more?
I love that. Yeah, okay. So
Meditate could be one thing.
does that make you love yourself more?
I think it might, but I'm like not doing it.
Okay. Well, let's come up with something.
You know what? One thing that I can do to love myself more is a spiritual mind treatment every day to release anything that is burdening me and let go and let God.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be, spiritual mind treatment each morning on self-love.
It's a 1 minute miracle.
It's a 1-minute miracle. Absolutely.
So to give myself that gift and not be like, oh, that's
Right. Right.
But the work
Yeah.
has a weird frequency.
Mm-hmm. So we don't want to use that word
Yeah.
because it has something there that's not quite right. But what can I do to increase my self-love? You know, I think that's a beautiful one. And that would be to do a spiritual mind treatment now. Okay? Okay, I'm going to treat every single day. Remember? Now. Okay? How about, does someone have one in relationship or finance or work? Yeah, Susan. Oh, what can I do every day to feel financially secure such that by doing it, all else will be effortless or easier? Okay, so what is that? Okay, so there's something about impulse. Okay. Okay. What can you do if we're really focusing? What's the one thing I can do? Okay, so it's more of an action thing. Yeah, what's the one thing I can do? It could be what? Oh, log where I spend. I love that. That's so doable, right? So so you're going to keep track? Okay, perfect. There's your action. Okay, I love that. One more. Yes, Elaine. What's the one thing I can do? Okay. Mm-hmm. Could we try going to the opposite of that and framing it in that way? And let's try that. Go ahead. Okay. That sounds like so much more fun than the other one, right? Okay. So what is that? Mm. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the theme that's coming out of all of this is got to do with gratitude, doesn't it? Wow. You know, it's like noticing what you already are, noticing what you already have, right? Because we're whole, complete, and perfect. We are diamonds right here, right now. God is right here where I stand. All the abundance in the universe is mine. I am in the right place at the right time, doing the right work, connected with the right people. My life is amazing, right? I mean, that totally like shifts it. Okay, so there's a real key that came out of this that I hadn't really gone there, but I love it. I think it's perfect. You love you now? Oh, I love you too. You're so cute. Okay. Have you ever seen some of her little kid pictures she puts on? She looks exactly the same, only this tall, you know. It's so cute. Okay. All right. So just a real quick wrap up of the month. The first month we had Ariana's book that was wonderful, which was called Thrive, which is called Thrive. It's still available. And we looked at the 4 qualities that define or rather redefine a successful life rather than money, fame, and fortune. That spiritual well-being, that your inner wisdom, the wonder that you have of life, and your sense of giving and service, that those are all qualities that are going to feel rich, feel successful. And then the second Sunday, we had a challenge and we had some fun with the treasure map. And we had a challenge of a 90-day tithing, cheerful giving, rather, experiment that we did. And we had several people take that on. And I'm just real excited. And you will be getting something more from me very soon. So, I have one as a gift today to someone who was really paying attention the first week when I said that, when we were talking about this Ariana Huffington book and how your spiritual well-being is so important, and that one of the things that helps maintain that is by being in community together on a regular basis. And so I gave another challenge of coming every Sunday and participating in what we're doing here. And so I have a prosperity book for someone who was here every Sunday and used these tools that we all learned about. Who won? All four? Oh, okay. Oh, Lima. Okay, Lima, you go get you that prosperity book out of the bookstore, okay? All right. And then last Sunday was really cool with this Inside Out healing book. We had a couple different tools that we learned about. The mandala of being, which helps you to just like keep bringing it back to this present moment, like noticing if you were a circle and look at the arms of the clock, that up there's the future, down here's the past, over here's me and my stories about me, and over here is you and my stories about you, and how all of these things like keep taking you out of right here. And so as soon as you notice that, you just bring it back to the center, which is now. Now, okay? And then our other tool that was really beautiful is the heart coherence technique, quick coherence technique, where you are breathing through your heart, taking in and exhaling out, and you remember something that made you feel really grateful, happy, makes you feel love. And it gets your brain into coherence with your heart. It slows down the rhythm. It gets your brain, your higher brain, functioning. And then everything just kind of works a whole lot better. So who used those tools this week? And did you have any interesting sort of experiences as a result? Did you use them? Raise your hand if you used them. Good. Okay, the rest of you, what you been doing? Okay, wake up. Okay. And then today, of course, this one focusing question. Let's see if we can say it together so you got it, okay? What's the one thing? Okay, come on. Okay, ready? What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier everything else will be easier or unnecessary. Okay, y'all got that? I think I finally do. And just know that as you do that, what you're actually doing is you're setting up the perfection to receive. That's what's happening. So as soon as you do that, it all works to open you up to receive. Many of us are much better at giving than we are at receiving. You know? And so let's use that this week, and let's just see if you don't experience more blessings and just beautiful things coming in. All right? And it's easier to have a tool that sort of makes that possible than it is to go, okay, I'm going to receive now. Okay, you know. And so this actually does it. It sort of sets up your whole psyche in such a way where it's really just like, okay, God. Yes. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And I'll put that on our website too, just in case that slips your mind, okay? So what might be a good practice this week is, in whatever your morning practice is, add this one sentence to it and see what happens. We're experimenting here. Science of mind is about application. It's about demonstration. It's about results. It's about things working better. And so it's really practical. It's really helpful. But you got to use the tools, right? You can't just know it. So I'm just knowing that you all just have an amazing week and that unexpected good and miracles happen for you and that you just enjoy these little practices that just make life fun because you're creating unexpected surprises and good things. So I love you. I bless you. And look, Val, well, I was a few minutes late. Okay, and so it is.